Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Bobby Piton here with PreActive Investments, and just wanted to go over a few things. There aren't a whole lot of companies that reported today, and I've been, I guess you can say, my schedule was a little off this week with a few things that I had to do during this time slot. It's not always going to be the case, but I did fly out to be in Pennsylvania for the news that was being released about the audit, only to find out when I got back that there's pushback from some folks about performing the audit. So it's extremely aggravating and disappointing. I think I'm not alone with this. Patiently waiting for some information that's supposed to come out of Arizona today. We'll see when that happens. I do know that this report, I know that there's talk that the report might get done today. I don't think the final report will be done today. If I had to guess, it'll probably be within a week. I know we've been hearing this a lot, within a week, within 2 weeks, et cetera. But I do think that there is some news that Wendy Rogers had hinted about on Tuesday that would be coming out today. So let's hope that gets resolved. But in either event, what I'd like to do is kind of recap what's going on with the VIX in general market stuff. And by the way, folks, I'm going to get some feedback from folks with regards to what they would like to see on this show. I have my own ideas. Some of this with regards to biggest winner, biggest loser on the day. It's interesting, but there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of interaction. I think what I'm missing is some more interaction. So I'd like to figure out how we can get this to be a more interactive session with what's going on in the markets. Maybe open it up to some Q&A with regards to what I'm talking about or clarification. So almost, in a sense, almost like a classroom setting. And I think that could make it a little more interesting. So Nicole, who works with me as a financial planner, she'll probably join in on some of these broadcasts as well. And if something isn't making sense, to her, she'll ask me questions, and then we'll open it up to questions from other folks as well. So with that, feel free. If something's on your mind, you want to understand something as I go, just stop me. So right now, we're going to hit on the VIX. So as you can see right here, the VIX is the Volatility Index. And what happened in the past week, as the markets have sold off a little bit, you can see that the VIX had spiked up. It went from about 18 on Wednesday, spiked to 23. And I think this was on the Fed tapering news, and now it's right back down to 19. So the market did sell off, with regards to some of this news this week, this liquidity coming out of the system. But you can see that in the past 6 months, the VIX was as high as 27. Actually, it's as high as 29 here in February. Year to date, 30. It was as high as actually 37. Back in January 27th. But then over the past 5 years, this was that big spike last year, it hit 66.04. So the volatility is a gauge for how much concern there is in the financial markets, how much risk people are willing to take. So it's a pretty good gauge to pay attention to. And you can see that for a very long time that it was at about 10 to 11 for years. So for it to spike up and go almost 6, 7 times as high as it had been is a big deal. And this, you can go back all the way to 2004. It was 17. Obviously, during a financial crisis, this was when Lehman Brothers, everybody was blowing up, if you guys recall. You can see that it hit 80, right? So this move last year was similar to what happened here in 08, 09. So that's why it's a really good thing to see. Hi, Dave. Hi, Jules. Hope everybody is doing well, and so this is always a good metric to look at. The TLT is the 20-year Treasury, and you can see that this index as well. This has been on fire as much as this is still off from its peak. It hit about 171 in July of 2020. It's at 150 now, but rates are really, really low, folks. And so I think rates are under 1.3%. And how you doing, Scott? Hi, Tom. Hi, Elishiva. You can see that rates, how well bonds have done in this environment shows up in the bond price. They're going to be inversely related. And so, right now bonds are still very strong. There isn't as much concern as people think about the economy just rolling over. I hear it all the time, folks. I hear it, Bobby, everything is manipulated. And, we live in a manipulated world. What can I say? They manipulate. If you go to the grocery store, right? We know things are being manipulated. What are we going to do? We still need to buy food. I don't know what to tell you. We know that the prices at the gas pump, do they really deserve and belong 100% higher than they were a year ago? No, they don't. Are they manipulated? Yes. I could definitely say that oil prices are manipulated in our economy. There's no doubt in my mind. You could just look at the price action, and that the demand did not double. Okay, and the elasticity of demand would never warrant such a move. However, OPEC is a cartel. It should be illegal. That was outlawed in the United States. The big, the initial Standard Oil was broken up to break the cartel, actually break the monopoly on oil. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if the Rockefeller family just moved it overseas, right, and formed OPEC instead. They said, you know what, we're going to keep this thing in place. We're going to go take over some countries overseas, and we're going to keep this oil cartel going. And, who knows? Maybe they're the ones behind all this too, right? I have no idea, folks. I'm just telling you, oil prices have most definitely been manipulated. It doesn't hurt that the government has pumped in trillions of dollars in the past year. The Federal Reserve balance sheet is almost 10 trillion now. So we have all this madness happening all at the same time. You got the Federal Reserve printing money. You have OPEC squeezing prices higher, right, through manipulating how things trade in the financial markets for oil. We have a situation where treasuries are abnormally low relative to money supply. In terms of, so that the Fed is manipulating rates lower. And Tom, I would agree with you that China has everything China does. The CCP is in some everything that the CCP does has some form of manipulation in it. They have some kind of other game that they're playing. They are not in favor of freedom in any way, shape, or form. You can see that the stocks in China are down about 30% since February. Actually, I'll just go to the chart here. You can see for yourself. So if you pull up the large cap index of Chinese stocks, you can see right here, okay, that Chinese stocks hit $54.53 this year, okay, in February of 2021. And they're at 39 now. So they're basically shed almost 30%. So 30% decline this, from the peak this year. Okay, now keep in mind it did start the year at about 44, so it's not down 30% from where it started the year at, but you can see that it went up almost 25%, and then it plummeted. Okay, now it's down 30% from its peak. And a lot of what's happening right now in China, I can't help but think, is it going to be a sneak preview for the United States? I don't know. But what I do know is the Chinese government is cracking down on data. They're cracking down on companies using data to basically make money at the expense of the users, right? We've kind of seen that firsthand. I've been talking about it. There's about 13 companies in the United States that were making $50-60 million 12, 13 years ago. Today, they're making $1 billion a day in profits. So they went from making 50 to 60 million per day of profits to over 1 billion today in profits. $1 billion run rate per day, $365 billion per year 13 companies, folks. And, I think the Chinese government's like, wow, that is amazing. These 13 American companies can make $1 billion a day. The CCP's like, I want to make all that money for myself. We're going to strip these rights away from all these Chinese stocks, all these companies, and we're going to make all that money for ourselves. And then we're going to use it to manipulate and control the entire system of China, because that's the way to play it. And, this is what the Chinese government is probably doing. I personally think that the United States was foolish to let the Chinese into China into the World Trade Organization 3 months to the day after September 11th, 01. I think we should boot them out, personally, once we rebuild our supply chain. And we should cut them off from our capital markets. I really do believe that. I do not believe we should be doing business with any nation that violates human rights so openly, so blatantly, who calls on enslaving people through a uniparty of sorts, right? This is what's kind of been morphing over into the United States. We went in foolishly. And as Amstock said, we went very foolishly with China. We thought that we would show them, the brilliance of being free and open, and get over there and show them what capitalism could look like and how their people would be better off. And I think as a result, we thought they would change, they would open up, they would, basically develop democracy. That was the whole theory, right? That people would change and become a democracy and so forth, a representative government. And little did we know, we would pick up the worst of their habits, right? That the people that went over there, they brought back all these conniving, scamming, cheating little tricks, whatever you want to call it, from the CCP, and brought them into our system across a lot of our institutions and so forth. So now we really do have a virus of sorts. It's an ideological virus that has infected the United States on a lot of different levels. And it's not going to be easy to get rid of it, right? It's not going to be easy. And I don't believe, and I do not agree with the notion that it can't be reversed. I disagree entirely. We are free people. We're human beings. Human beings long to be free. And as a result, we can change it the moment we want to change it. We just cut them off. That's it. We have to cut them off and take the appropriate actions to develop the right systems worldwide that keep them out of free nations. Box them back in. We'll put the wall back up around China. We should have a digital wall, digital firewall. We should have a wall where we do not let them in and taint and corrupt our institutions. Yeah, I do think this whole thing pretty much started in the 70s, but it really took off in the past 20 years, and we do need to reverse it, is how I feel about it. So anyways, that's the deal. Let me take a look here. Let me see. Let me see here. Let's look at one company that is working on artificial intelligence that's been a massive beneficiary. Actually, it's been a huge beneficiary because everything that's basically happening with Tesla as well. Because a lot of the vehicles that Tesla builds, actually not a lot of them, I think all of them, are being built with artificial intelligence. And the company that has been a beneficiary, which I did think for a while it did get ahead of itself, but it's just crazy, right? That some companies just keep going, and the valuation doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how expensive it is. There always seems to be a bid. And this is kind of what's happened, because even on a year-over-year basis, it is shocking to see that, they continue to expand as much as they do. So let's go share my screen with this one. It's called Nvidia. And you guys might have heard of Nvidia. And so Nvidia, $6.5 billion of revenue. And they are up 68% year over year. Gaming revenue. So think about that. Right now it's gaming, up 85%. So you got all these kids playing games. And this is what's really driving these processors, is all these video games. It's very wild indeed. Data center revenue up 35%. And so a lot of kids, look, I have a son who it's tough. It's tough as a parent, right? You're trying to talk your children away from the video games because they're addicted to this stuff. It's a different type of addiction, right? There's some people used to smoke when they were in high school. Now there's people that play video games, and this is not just happening among teenagers. It's happening among adults as well as college age students. But this is what's going on. Their earnings per share are up 276% from a year ago. And you can see a simulation platform, 5 years in the making, that runs physical virtual worlds and connects other digital platforms. So they're trying to create metaverses with these chips. Now keep in mind, these chips are also used in Tesla vehicles. So this is one of the ways in which they've been benefiting. But year over year, you can see that the top line, even though it went up 68%, right here, their earnings went from 622 million to 2.3 billion. Wow! So it's like literally just exploded. The amount of money that they make, is off the charts. So if you guys want to know who's making all this money off of your children playing video games, this is one of the companies right here. And the question is, I did see there's some news out of China that they're going to crack down on all these video games because they do view them as addicting as nicotine, I think. And I do think that there's some truth to that. I think that this stuff is literally, it's creating a new problem for us. And so here's why these data, this stuff right here. And once again, I haven't looked at these games. Maybe I'm gonna have to look at them and see why my son is so interested in playing these games with people around the world over living in the real world, right? But then again, he might be saying, Dad, you're sitting on your computer talking to people that you don't know as well, through through StreamYard. So while you're doing StreamYard and your Bible thing, I'm doing my video games. So it's a tough line to walk, right? Because I could see him being a little bit of tongue in cheek telling me that, and it's going to be tough to argue back. But look at this, folks. August of this year, they've now have almost $20 billion of cash. Wow, that's unbelievable. So in the beginning of the year, they started at 11.5 billion. Now they're almost at 20 billion right here. And so their balance sheet is exploded by $10 billion past 6 months. So let's see where they're getting all that cash from. Long-term debt. Well, they did issue a bunch of long-term debt here, which is interesting because I'm not sure why they need all this debt if they're making so much cash. Maybe it's the acquisition they're going to make. They started raising some money for that acquisition they're going to make of, I think, ARM Holdings. You can see that of their cash flow numbers, 465 was stock-based compensation. Year to date, almost $1 billion of cash came into their coffers from stock-based compensation. So that's the deal. They did issue that $5 billion of debt right here, 4.985, and they're sitting on quite a bit of cash. So this is a company. I have no opinion if it's long or short. What I will tell you is this stock is worth $500 billion right here. If you take a look, this company is worth $500 billion right there. $500 billion. 506665 or 50665 right there. Look, gotta love the symmetry. But it has had an absolutely amazing run. This thing has gone from I don't know, right here, it was $4 a share, $3 a share. So here we go. It went from $1.60 a share right there to $204 in 15 years. Folks, So, I mean, it has been just straight up for quite a while. And so, this company was founded in 93. I remember there was talk that Intel would buy them. Intel did not buy them, which in hindsight would have probably been beneficial because Intel could have bought them when they were worth about $5 or $10 billion. And now Intel is worth $209 billion. So Intel is worth 40% as much as Nvidia. So right there, 209 billion. Nvidia is worth almost 300 billion more. So Intel is probably kicking itself in the foot or whatever, I guess, that they should have possibly done that. Now look at the difference, folks. Intel's revenue is $78 billion right here. So even as much as I've said that the other company's worth it's worth 500 billion. Intel has revenue that's 3 times as high as Nvidia, but it's only selling for 40% of the valuation. And that's what's pretty interesting right now is it's still doing almost doing $80 billion a year. So I understand that some people are saying that Intel is kind of falling behind, but it's tough to count out a company that's doing $80 billion. Okay, $80 billion in revenue a year. I wouldn't say they're disappearing anytime soon. It's going to take some time, but nonetheless, it is an interesting thing to see the discrepancy in valuation between those two companies. Is all I'm saying. So that's Intel. I just went over the Nvidia. I would say with regards to other things, Bitcoin, we haven't talked about Bitcoin in a while. This thing has been a roller coaster this year. If you look at it, it started the year, let me see. It started the year right here around 29,000, spiked up to 60 something thousand, dropped to about 28,000, 29,000. Now it's back up to 50,000 almost, 49,000. So this thing has been all over the map this year, Bitcoin. And, once again, I can't help but think if what this looks like, and maybe I should try to pull it up, what this looks like in comparison to China, because I do think that there is, between the two, there might be a lot of money flowing out of China into Bitcoin. So this is what might be happening as people are just trying to get their money out. And, the people in China, the only way to just get some of their cash out sometimes is to go right out through cryptocurrencies because they're kind of off the grid, right? That's the deal. And so, this is what might be occurring. Okay? So when does the Fed coin emerge? I know they're talking about it. It hasn't come out just yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if something like that does pop up. So, anyways, folks, with that, if you guys have any suggestions as to what you would like to see me talk about, I may try to start to do some type of summary. I'm not sure if I do it Mondays, or I kind of summarize what some of the big events were the previous week. I'm going to kind of just keep messing around and seeing what seems to what seems to resonate more. But I think that maybe trying to tie it together with what the country's worth. Maybe that's what I'll try to do. I'm trying to think of creative ways to take what happens in the financial markets and tie it to how it relates to our personal lives and our personal finances, so that people can better understand how all the stuff that's happening all around us impacts them on a personal level. And so that's what I'll try to do. So with that, folks, I hope you guys have a wonderful afternoon. God bless you. And then I will see you tonight at 8:30. Patrick, if you're watching, so just text me if you can make it tonight. I'd love to have you on. It would be day 181 of the Bible study. Let me see here. Seeing the president, his wife, and he. All right. So, I think that's it for now. Have a wonderful afternoon. I'll talk to you soon. God bless.